Live streaming is on.
He's on.
Okay.
Let me know when it's on YouTube as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, looks like we're live.
Great. Well, thank you, Ethan, Timmy, and Kite, for coming for today's Q&A. Today's just going to be, somewhat casual. In fact, look, just to prove it to you, I've got my cat here. I've got a big bag of chocolate. We mainly did this because we had a lot of questions. One of my students here is here to, had a great question for Kite. And then Kite also wanted to show his software, his 41 Edo ear training software. He has been putting some great things in the chat, which I hope he shares. I was learning a lot in that, and we just wanted to, let the world see that as well. So with no further ado, I think we're going to start with Kite and showing his software. So take it away.
Hi, I'm Kite, and I want to show you this ear trainer software. Ear trainer software is you know what it is. It's to teach you the 12 notes and the 12 intervals of regular music. Well, I wrote one for 41 Edo because there's 41 notes of the kite guitar. So it's kind of cool. Oh, that's my phone. I wonder what that sound was.
I was wondering what that sound was too. I was looking at everyone to see if everyone was muted.
I want to talk to, but I can't. Okay. So anyway, there is sound in the background. You're actually listening to the ear trainer right now because it doubles as an ambient sound generator. And so I can mix it by bringing the speaker closer to the mic or further away. And the thing you got to know about the ear trainer, first of all, is it's not standalone. It runs inside Reaper, and which is a great DAW, or it runs inside a wrapper. There's details on the website, and there's no built-in sounds, and it only outputs MIDI. So it's not like something you just click on and run right away, but you can get great quality sound out of it. You can use really nice synths with it, and then MIDI just drives the synth and get beautiful music like this. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. Okay, so here it is running. I'll turn it off. And I'm running in contact, and I'm going to switch from this sound. That's what we've been listening to, one note. So
I'll just butt in here to let people know that you can type in the chat. Yes. And we will answer questions. Just know that they may or may not get answered immediately, but please do to put them in if you have any questions.
Piano sound, and we'll go over here. This is the actual ear trainer. I'm going to set it up for my demo. Okay, so my outline here. Okay, so let me just. The way it works is you just click on the play button. Can you hear the piano sound? I'm sort of doing a manual mix here. Is that loud enough?
Yes, loud enough.
Seems good.
Okay. So here's all the 41 notes. You see my cursor, and it's going to be one of those notes, and I'm not sure which one. It's going to be one of the checked ones, obviously. So I'll just try one at random. It's not that one. Oops. Getting warmer. Mouse problems. It's obviously this one. So the right answer turns green. I'll try another note. That'll be a B, I'm sure. Gets easy after a while. It's just a major scale. And you can also, oops, sorry. And
So to be clear, it's kind of like you can test. It's a way of testing your ear. One of the formats for it. So you can. It's like a quiz if you want to.
Quiz, and this is an easy quiz because it's just a major scale, and you can check more notes, and it gets harder. And if you press the button down and hold it, it tells you the right answer. So if you ever get stuck, you see it'll instantly tell you it's a G. You can set it to a 3-octave range to make it harder. So notice it's not jumping around at random. It's kind of moving smoothly and making a nice melody. And that's because we're favoring small steps. And what that does is it uses a normal distribution, also known as the bell curve. I just thought it'd be a kind of a cool kind of mathy way to generate an interesting melody. I can do equal probability, and it's gonna jump all over the place and make it a lot harder. So the philosophy behind the software is do something that sounds musical and interesting, so you don't get bored or overwhelmed by the sheer randomness of 41 notes. Let's see. And you can, of course, add more notes if you want to make it more difficult. And I'll give you more choices to do. Or you can go to the notice that we're at the melodies test, the beginning level. Now this is the intermediate level. And this is cool because it's 4 notes right next to each other. And it really forces you to listen to microtonal subtleties. Okay, hold on. I'm going to guess it's that one. I was right. I'm going to guess maybe this one. I was right. Ooh, maybe a little flatter. Yes. Take some practice to do that. Okay, let's see what else. You can go to the advanced level, and that gives you all of them, and that makes it a very difficult test because it's so easy to get off by one, but you can get it after a while. Or you can go to create your own, and it just clears everything, and you can put in whatever you want here. And so that's the melodies test. Now we'll do the next one, which is the intervals test. And what this does is it plays an interval. That's a unison. That one was easy. That sounds like a major second, kinda. Yes, I was right. If I press on the button, it'll play it for me, and it'll play the wrong ones too. So you can kind of just train your ear that way too.
Tritone? Sounds tritonish.
Yeah. So there's 2 tritones. So I'll try this one. Yes. The other one was this one. A little sharper. So that's the idea there. You can really do some cool stuff with that. And let's see. We can also do this and just hear them as intervals, simultaneous intervals.
Like a fourth?
Ooh, should I test you, Devin?
I'm getting technical difficulties. Here, sure. Test me.
I'll test you. I'll go back. I'll give you both harmonic and melodic, and I'll just play an interval here. And I can play it again if you want.
Oh, that's hard because it sounds like a third, except I have 4 different choices of thirds.
Yes, you got 2 majors, a sharp one and a flat one, and 2 minors, a sharp one.
I'm gonna guess a flattish third.
Flattish major third?
Yeah, flattish major third.
You got it.
Oh my
This is
gosh.
fun. Let's do it.
Okay, let's just stop there. I'm winning. I'm winning. I'm out while I'm winning.
You're out while you're winning. Okay, that's great. Let's see. Okay, different layouts. So we have the linear. This is the linear layout. Next, we have the guitar layout, and this is cool because this is the fretboard of the kite guitar. So if you have a kite guitar, you can just you don't have to think so much about the note names. You can just think about where your fingers go. And this is the same thing as we saw before. It's just laid out differently. It's just the boxes are in different places on the screen. It works exactly the same way.
Maybe it's a good time to remind people that it is laid out in major thirds, down major thirds. So if you could show that on the
sure, you can just
chart.
see right where my cursor is. P1 means perfect unison. That's down major third, and it just keeps going up the same way and then over to the octave. Let's see. Okay, so
you're looking at a fretboard of a kite guitar
Yes.
right now.
And there's actually
a segment of
a segment of it,
fretboard,
yes,
yeah.
but it contains all 41 notes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is let me go back to this. It'll be a little easier to follow. So so far we had the root being the tonic. Now we can say the root can vary, and what that's going to do. Let me go back to melodic here. Sorry. Now the next interval, the last note of that one becomes the first note of the next one. Sorry.
It's like a perfect fourth. No. Oh.
See how it started the last one, and then we go. That's a unison. That's a fourth. So it makes it a little more musical, and then you can also say descending, and then it kind of sounds even more like a melody. So the idea is that it kind of tricks. It sort of feels like it doesn't feel like you're just doing some random computery thing. It feels a little more musical. That was the goal of me writing this software. And you can do open voicings, and then it gives you the sound can go. The interval can be wider than an octave. And let's move on. So now next we have tetrads. And what we have here is, triads. And what we have here is just a bunch of chords. So instead of playing a note, it's going to play a chord. So let's see what that sounds like. Oops. Oh, bad ear. There it is. And here's the sus4 chord. Okay. Devin, this should be easy. I'm going to test you again.
Okay.
You want to hear it again?
Yeah, my brain's going bonkers, but yeah, do it one more time.
These are standard chords, very close to 12, but the
is this in an inversion? It sounds like a.
Oh, it's no, I don't think it is. It's just this straight up minor chord, and there's the notes: down F sharp, A, down C sharp.
Huh. So for some reason, it kind of sounded like. Okay, that's just a major triad.
Yes, there it is. And oh, by the way, check out this. It shows you the names of the notes. It shows you the letters of the current chord. It shows you the names of the note and the last note, and it shows you the Roman numeral notation, and it shows you what the root movement was. So we went up a fifth with that chord. Okay. Then we got intermediate level. We got more chords. That was a minor one.
Well, but can I make a request before you move on to intermediate chords? Does anyone else want to give it a shot and see if they can guess? There's only 3 options.
Good idea.
Nathan, Heather, you want to give it a try?
Okay.
All right. I'll tell you what, I'll make it easier. I'll make the root not change.
That's just a regular major chord.
Major. Yes.
Hooray!
It's like it's a 4 chord.
4 chord. Yes, you got it. So yeah, you can do it.
Yeah.
If we went to intermediate, it's tricky because there's 2 minor chords. Slightly different.
What's the difference?
Listen again. And the middle note changes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. And it's free, so you can just download it anytime you want and play with it. Okay, so let's go back to root can vary. Now, the way it works is I have common tones selected. So whatever chord comes, every new chord shares at least one note with the old chord. So we just did D, G, and A. So this next chord will have one of those 3 notes in it. And it's got A in it.
Is that like a sus2? No.
Yeah, it's a sus2, exactly. So the point is, let me go back to harmonic to speed this up. So the point is you get chords that are connected. They're not just throwing random stuff at you. You can actually make sense of it musically. I'll just play a little song for you here. There you go. And then we got advanced, and it gets crazy. There's all kinds of chords. Oh, and you can do custom chords. Check this out. You go to the intervals page, and you clear it out, and you just say, I want a chord with a root, and let's give it a neutral third in between major and minor, and let's give it a 5th, and let's go over here and click on, oops, let me get rid of those. And there it is. And if I force it just to do one chord like this, then that's exactly what you'll get. There it is. And there it is. G sharp, double up B, D sharp.
Devin, you got some, or sorry, Kite, you have some questions if you want to check the chat.
Oh, I will check the chat. Yes.
Well, the question I put, I guess I could just say it. So if somebody's watching the recording can hear it.
Yeah.
You know, because I have used 12 Ito ear trainers. And so one of my questions, since you haven't played 12 Ito music for money, so I don't know, maybe you haven't used a 12 Ito ear trainer either. But my first question is, have you used a 12 Ito ear trainer? So I don't want to start, okay, a little. I didn't want to start on that assumption if you hadn't. But, you know, the second part of that was, if so, how is your experience different when using the 41 as compared to the 12 Ito? And I say, I'm asking, is it easier or harder? And I guess my question is, like, with a more expansive vocabulary, you know, is it easier to kind of tell the difference between the harmonies or harder?
Oh, 12 Ito is so much easier. I mean, like I was showing you that one exercise where it's just 4 notes, they're all crammed right next to each other. I mean, after you do that for a while, 12 Ito is like, oh my God, that note is so far away from this other note. There's such a huge difference.
Well, but there's different constraints you can put on it.
Yeah, when he was on the beginner triad level, I think that's just as easy as the comparative 12 Ito, I would say.
So this is a lot like a 12 Ito ear trainer here, especially for add this and maybe a few others.
As we saw, because someone who, you know, I think it was Heather who used it, had never used this before, and she was able to get all of them.
Yeah. This one is tough, though. This one where you're doing having to pick between all these. You know, once you get that down, 12 Ito's easy.
I'll admit that the minor sounded pretty foreign to my ear, using foreign because I can't think of a better word. But I think, you know, in 12 Ito, the differences between minor and major, because they're kind of tempered out a little bit. I'm
Yeah, so
wondering.
there's 3 minors. That's a good point. I'll show you 3 minor thirds in a row. And that is actually this is the intermediate test. It's all
It
7
sounds like
thirds.
we got successively sharper each
Yes.
time we.
Yes. So here we go. Oops. Oops, I got descending on. Let's make it easy. Let's make it I try to make this so that when you first start out, you can make it easy. And so here's the root's always going to be the same. It's always ascending. There's no open voicings. And just give a listen for a minute. And so if you fool around with this for a while, you'll get it, because you can clearly hear the difference between them once you're aware of it. Any other questions?
I guess one question would be, after you play around with this, then you go back to 12 Ito. Is that easier? I mean, like,
In a way, it's easier. In a way, it's worse because you play a major chord and it sounds bad because it's not as in tune. You go, oh, is my guitar?
I can speak to this a little bit because I've dabbled with going back and forth, and what I would say is it's because it's a high resolution tuning, your ear is having to learn smaller intervals, which means your ear has to be more discerning for some of those notes, and in that way, going back, I think my ear, like I felt like after I'd used this for a little while, my ear was a little bit better, and so it was a little bit easier to tune into. Like, it became, in comparison, it seems easier after the fact, and I'd like to think that my ear was getting more discerning.
Yeah, I guess I think in
the
theory,
point of all this is that you get these beautiful chords, something like that. You just don't get in 12 Ito.
well, I'm thinking in theory, having to this kind of higher resolution, in terms of the possibilities, it's like if you take that one extra step and you have more possibilities, then when you kind of parse out the possibilities, I think in theory it seems like it should be easier. So it's like, if you spend some time with this, then you go back to 12 Ito, or some you just make fewer notes, then it sounds like it should be easier.
That was my experience.
Yeah. You realize what a compromise 12 Ito is too. Anyway, let's move on. So tetrads, there's a whole bunch of them, and you can make more if you want. And I'll just give you a quick sampling of some of these. So here's this is probably 12 Ito like. That's an up minor 7. Oh, wait a minute. I think, hold on. Oh, never mind. Just checking something there.
Sounds diminished.
No, it's not diminished. These are all 7th chords. Here's a major 7. And you can kind of tell what it is, even if you don't understand the details. It's an up major 7, so it's a major 7 chord with a couple notes sharpened. And so when you try to actually play this, you go. And you have to, oops, I accidentally revealed the answer there. I'll try it again. And I have no idea what that is. So but what I would do as a beginner is just try a bunch until I find it. And of course, I would start at the beginning where I have fewer choices. And then you start with tetrads, you work up to beginning to the different levels, and you go to you start with triads beginning, and you go to up the levels. Then you go to tetrads and try all that, and you try to go to pentads and try all that. So you can really spend a long time exploring this little universe I've created. And of course, you can do open voicings. You can do, you can allow inversions and all that. And there's one more thing I want to show you. On the triads, we did common tones, which means, like I said, each chord has a note in common with the one before. You can also do, well, you can do random roots if you want to really test yourself. But you can also limit to scale. And the way that works is you go here to the scale, and we'll set a D major scale. And now every chord will have one note, at least one note from that scale, usually 2 or 3. Let's see what we got here. So there we go. We got F sharp and C sharp are in the scale. Oh, and B2. Yeah, all those are in there. So you can kind of tell we're in D. As you do this test, you can kind of make it a little more like what you would actually come across in real music. Like that. Anyway, let's see.
I'm going to ask a question because I think Walter might be interested in this, but you
Sure.
told me that there's kind of, a quote unquote AI, and this
Yes,
is on the
it's a bit of
topic you're
artificial
mentioning,
intelligence.
that makes it musical. Do you want to talk to that a little bit more and how
Yes,
you
I
implement?
kind of have been. So for one thing here, favor small steps. That was kind of artificial intelligence. So it's, I've kind of been doing that as I've been going along. And what I just showed you is another example. You can define a scale and it'll sort of stick to that scale.
Is it discriminate with regard to like progressions?
You mean, does it, no, each chord is, well, it bases a chord choice sometimes off the previous chord like this, but that's it. It doesn't really like look 3 or 4 chords back. It doesn't take the level of real intelligence where it goes like, well, I've done this chord 5 times. Now I'll do these 2 chords another couple times. And I'll go back to the first chord. It doesn't really think like a musician thinks, but it just avoids complete randomness. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
You could take this further. Someone could totally take this concept further. But I didn't. I was just trying to avoid the sheer vastness of 41 Ito randomness frying people's brains. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is a bit about notation here. So we're in D, and you can show the key signatures. And what that does is it shows you just the normal 12 notes per octave key signature for D major and D minor. And you can set them, and it slightly adjusts a couple notes, and you can see what's going on there, right? The 3rd, 6th, and 7th change. But there's other kinds of key signatures too. This is something I've been working on. My goal is to take all music theory, the entire body of Western music theory, and port it over to 41 Ito, 41 notes. And so part of that is key signatures. And what you do is you find yourself using not a major scale, but a down major scale, because there's better chords. And we have to have so the down major scale has a couple notes with downs in them, and we have to put those in the key signature, and there they are. It's down B, down F sharp, and down C sharp. And then we have the up minor instead of the plain minor, and that's got, again, 3 notes are upped, and they have to have 3 ups in the key signature along the 1 flat. And note names, a given note often has 2 different note names, just like in normal music. So, for example, we're in D and we have C sharps over here. Now I can go to the key of C by setting the tonic and finding C and clicking on it. And then those C sharps turn into D flats. So it's smart enough to know how to name the notes. Do we have a question here? Can I play the difference between D major and D down major? Yes. Do you want a chord or do you want a scale?
Let's start with the scale. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the easiest way to do that is to I'll do advanced, and we can just play like this. Oops, sorry. What's going on here? I need melodic. That's what I want. So that was just ordinary major. Now I'll do the. And of course, what happens is this note changes. Subtle difference, but where you really hear it is in the chord. If I got all three of those notes, if I got the C, E, and G going at once, you totally hear it.
Are you able to keep like the drone of a tonic while?
Yes, that's this one. I'm sorry. Let me. No, this should work. Let's see. There it is. So here's the plain major, and here's the down major. Can you hear a difference?
Oh yeah.
And if we added the fifth to that, then it would be even clearer. Even in the scale it works. Yes. Okay. So we're in C now. Let's go back to maybe down major. Oh, I know. Let's see. Let me show you all the other key signatures here. Let me get rid of those red things. There we go. So we have up major and we got down minor. Those are also possibilities. And we got double down major and double up minor, which is actually the same thing. So we have just two different ways of saying the same thing. So basically we have 7 key signatures: plain major, minor, double down major and up major, down minor, and then what you call mid, written out one of 2 ways. Okay. So let me show you the third layout. This is good when you start thinking about weird keys. We've seen the linear layout and we've seen the guitar layout. This is the lattice layout. And the way this works is you have a row of fifths here, a chain of fifths. We're used to the circle of fifths, but it's kind of more of a chain. And then above here, you have the same notes with ups, so they're slightly sharper. So you got your C and you got your up C. Oops, I got to check it before I can do anything to it. And then below that, you have your down notes. And then you even have a couple double down notes down there. Okay, so the normal keys are kind of in the middle. They're like maybe a 1 sharp or 1 flat, or maybe 1 up. And the really weird keys are out in the edge. And we can go to any of these keys. So let's go to a really weird one. Let's go to down A flat. And it's got several different names. It's and you can, and the program will let you see it by, you can toggle the tonic. And the name, the letter names change, but it's all the same notes. And if you look at the key signatures here, they're kind of pretty. They look like little birds flying on the staff, don't they? Let's see what we got here. And it reacts to however you name it. It makes the key signature match. And some of them are dimmed out because they have triple ups and downs, which is a big no-no. So the program actually helps you figure out how to write out your music in a weird key by showing you all the options. Yeah, and then you can even go to here and play a chord. Oops, excuse me. And you can toggle the root or the tonic of the chord. And you can see the same chord spelled out different ways. And when you get into some wild modulations, this is actually really handy because it does get confusing and it is hard to figure out what all the note names are sometimes. So this is an ear trainer, and it's also a sort of a notation guide or a style guide. All right. The next thing I want to show you is a really cool option of this. And you can basically turn this into a hands-free device and just play along with it. Now, when you use an ear trainer, let me say, first of all, it's nice to listen and click and just use your ears and click on the computer to hear the sound that you think it is and try to compare them. That's like one good way to do it. Another good thing to do is to sing along with it, of course. I'm sure you've heard this. You sing along with the notes the computer gives you, and that sort of helps you internalize the sound. And I don't want to put that down, but there's a third way where you play kite guitar along with it. And let me show you what's going on here. I have something called a foot mouse. Here it is. It's just a simple mouse set up so you can put it on the floor and
We cannot see it. I think you got to unshare your screen. Oh, there.
I can see it.
Oh, okay. I see it now.
There's a picture of a mouse, and I just rigged something up so you step on it. You put your foot on it and step on that, and it clicks the mouse. And I've got it right here, so I can actually use this. So let's see. I'll go. I'll go to an easy key. Let me see. I was practicing in D before. Where is D? It's over here. There it is. Okay, so now I'm in D, D down major. And let's see, how can I do this? So I park the cursor over the play button, and then I get away from the computer. Actually, let me come over here and unshare my screen. And put my picture back. Okay, so now I just hands up and I can make it play. Let's see, I'll do melodic. I'll get my guitar, get my kite guitar here. There it is. Then I hold it down and it advances to the next one. There it is. There it is. What is it? There it is. And so you can just play along with the computer, and it's much less like computery and thinky. It's more like playing along. It's like you have a friend in the room who's testing you. And you can do this with chords. I don't know if I dare do this. Maybe on the easy level. Haven't done this in a while. There it is. It's a sus4. And I'm right. So I'm going to quit there. And you can actually just sort of play along with it like a friend testing you, as I said. And if you don't want to make a foot mouse, there's a couple other things you can do. This let me go back to sharing the screen here. And you notice the slider here has been moving back and forth this whole time. You can, if you have an expression pedal, that's a foot pedal that does a range of MIDI values instead of just on and off. If you have one of those, you can do what's called MIDI learning. And so you just work the pedal with your foot and it does that for you. It moves the slider. You can move the slider with your foot, basically. Or you can just, if you want to, you can just take the laptop, put it on the floor, take off your shoes and tap on the mouse button or the trackpad button with your toe, and you can run it that way. You don't even really need to rig up anything. All right. The
Fun.
last thing, yes?
I just said fun.
Cool. Yes, it's great fun. The last thing I want to show you is autoplay. And what you do here is it's this button here, continuous play. And there's a tempo setting that goes with it. And what you do, let's start with melodies. So you hit play, and it just plays. And you can try to keep up on your guitar. Like that. And that's even that's almost like a video game. you set your skill level and you try to keep up. And it shows you the answer, but you don't really have to look. Or you can just, if you want, you can just move it off the screen like that, and you just see the play button. Oops. You can just it's not doing it for me right now, but you get the idea. You can just kind of move it over there and just see the play button, not see the answers. Or you can just not look at the screen and just play what you hear. And you can do that with chords and so forth.
You could close your eyes and sing the pitches.
Yes, you can close your eyes. You don't have to even think about the computer. And the other great thing about this is that you can just sort of absorb the sound subconsciously. I'll give you a couple examples. So we have a scale here. Let's do a different scale. This is one of my favorites. It's the down minor pentatonic. And it's very pretty. It's kind of like, it's almost like 5 equally spaced notes. Not quite. And let's just give a listen and see what it sounds like. I'm going to set the tempo up a bit. So, because this, you're, and so the idea is you can just turn this on and give it a listen while you're doing the dishes or something. You'll absorb the sound. And we can crank it a little bit if we want. We can really crank it if we just want to get crazy. And we can do that with intervals. This is kind of cool. So we can do this and listen to the 7/3 just running. Bring the tempo down a bit. So the idea is you just put this on while you're doing something else around the house, and you'll sort of subconsciously learn the 7/3. And then finally, I want to show you the ambient music generator that you were listening to earlier. So I'll just set it to this, and I've got my beginning chords, my beginning tetrads. So I've got 5 different chords. And I'm going to, my tempo's down at 57. Now I'll go to contact. Well, first of all, I'll play on the piano sound, and we'll hear what it sounds like. It's gonna be sort of Brian Eno-esque, just very spacey, open music.
So we're approaching the hour.
Okay.
Why don't we get to Nathan's question of
Sure,
why
let me show you one more
41,
thing.
Kite?
I want to put the pad on here because it sounds so cool. It's like you can go to sleep listening to this music. Okay, that's the demo.
That's fun. Thank you so much, Kite.
You're welcome.
So it sounds like you've got to download and install Reaper, and then this
Yeah, it's free.
works.
It's open source, but you do have to set it up.
Well,
The effort's worth it.
It's not completely open source. It is. It doesn't cost anything, and there's no limits on the trial.
you're talking
version
about
of it.
Reaper.
My program is free and completely free and completely open source. Reaper is not open source, but there actually is a demo that works fine. You don't have to buy it, and it's extremely cheap. It's only $60 for a full-fledged digital audio workstation, which is an incredible price.
Great. And then you know, I know that the gears are going on in Walter's head, and
Sure.
because we've made some ear trainers in music blocks. We haven't made a 41 Edo one, and you can do constraints of scale and things like that. So, you know, I'm sure within the next few weeks we'll be experimenting now with 41. You know, we do have that question from Nathan. Nathan, do you want to pose the question? You're the one who posed it. I could repeat it, but I think it would be great from you. I'll say it. If he jumps on, I'll let him interrupt me. His question after seeing the event on April 11th was, you know, why the number 41? You know, why specifically that number? Why is that number significant? Why is it important?
Well, we'd hoped that Aaron would be back by now in order to answer that question. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it today.
But you also had some great, you know, graphs that you showed
yes.
me that were incredible.
Oh, yeah, I don't have those set up. I could grab those. But basically, the idea is there's only so many equal divisions of the octave. You know, you can. There's only so many numbers out there, and when you cut it up, you tend to line up with certain harmonics or not. And of course, you never hit them exactly, but you come close to them. And the short story is that 41 does a really good job of hitting all those harmonics, as do others like 31 and 53, and to a lesser degree, ones like 19 and 22. And so out of all those Edos would be pretty good on guitar. Then the bigger the number, usually the better it is, but the harder it is to play. And so that's the trade-off with guitar. You either have the notes that you can tell are out of tune, or you have tons of frets that are just really hard. And the great thing about 41 is you can leave out half the frets. And then you get the best of both worlds. You get a large accurate Edo, and you don't have too many frets.
Just to kind of bring out a couple of things, there's kind of a mathematical formula to those numbers that you presented.
Yes.
Let me show you some stuff here.
And I'll say, while Kite's pulling that up, so there are popular Edos, and Edos are nice, right? Because if you have an equal division of the octave, that means the fret spacing is all equal distant, and that gives you the ability to modulate to any key. So that is a feature that is just really nice to have. as opposed to the opposite, which is you could play the exact nice just intonation intervals, but then the guitar fretboard is very confusing, and you can't modulate easily. So there's a number of popular Idos that do hit some nice harmonic intervals. As he was mentioning, there's like 19, 22, 31. Those are some popular ones. But in order to get all of the intervals, as like some of them have some intervals are better and some intervals are worse. So there's like a trade-off that you're going to get some notes that sound better and some notes that don't sound as in line with the just intonation intervals. So 41 is the number that you have to go to in order for all of the intervals to be as good or better than 12 Ito.
And I got a chart here. So what this does is this shows you, here's the Itos at the bottom. It starts at 5 and goes up to, here's 12 right here and keeps going up to 41. And the white, yellow, and blue lines are the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th harmonic. If you get those in tune, you get a ton of great chords. And as you can see, there's here's how many cents you can be off, and the most you can be off is half of an Ito step. Like in 12 Ito, you're going to be at the most you can be off is 50 cents, because then you'll be getting close to the next one. So within that range, it does great with the white line, which is the 5th, and it does pretty good with the yellow line, which is the major 3rd, but it kind of loses it with the blue line, which is the harmonic 7th. And that's a big problem with 12 Ito. It's a nice manageable number of notes, but you just can't get that 7 limit sound. And then the lines zigzag around, and you can see that there's just a bunch of error, and there's a couple that are pretty good. Like, again, we got 19, they're all kind of flat, and they look pretty good. And then 22, and then 31 is a nice little cluster. Unfortunately, the 5th is off, and that's kind of important. And then 41 is also another nice little cluster. And I got another chart here that shows it with you, with it not sharp and flat, just how far off it is, which is another way of looking at it. A little easier to see what the best Itos are. Like 22 really stands out that way. Does that sort of answer your question?
Oh yeah, these charts are fantastic.
Yeah.
They're very helpful.
Yeah, and this is just straight up math. You just put you do it with a spreadsheet or something. It's not super complicated.
But you mentioned something that, these good Itos typically are a multiple of 12 plus or minus 5 or 7.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about that. That's for the 5th, not for the other harmonic, but for the 5th. And I can show you that. My crazy collection of microtonal stuff here. Oops. There's something called the scale tree. This is kind of technical. Oh, I better do this instead. Hold on. There we go. So you can plot the Ito here, 10, 15, 20, 25. These are the different kinds of sizes of Ito. And this is the size of the 5th. So 700 cents is 12 Ito, of course. And then 702 cents is exactly perfectly in tune. And 12 Ito is like I said, down at the 12 row and over here. And 17 is a little further down, a little sharper, and so on. And there's 5 and there's 7. Everything else is a combination of 5 and 7. So the way this chart works is the ones off on the edge have a terrible 5th. It'll make you cringe. In my opinion. I don't want to put down anybody's artistic endeavors. Makes me cringe. And the ones, so you want to stay in the middle. The ones at the top don't have very many notes, so there's not much you can do with them. And the ones at the bottom have too many notes because it gets kind of hard to fit on a guitar, for example. So what you really want is the stuff right in the middle. So let's take a look at that. I got another chart here. And this is like a zoom in of what's going on in the middle of that, what they call the scale tree or the Stern-Brocot tree. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. B-R-O-C-O-T. And there's 41 and there's 53. and 22 is a little off the side. And there's 19. 17 is close. It has a good fifth, but has a terrible major third. It doesn't sound like a major third at all. It's like 30 cents or 40 cents off. So that one doesn't work so well. And 12 works. And of course, every multiple of 12 works because it'll have the same really good fifth. It'll just improve from 12. And that's how it works. Try to slowly scroll so you can kind of see what's going on there.
Yeah, I like to clarify. So you see that backslash and then the number of
yes. Thank
yeah.
you.
So what the first number is the perfect fifth in that Ito as you can approximate it. So you can see that where the perfect fifth is and then over how many notes per octave.
Yes, so 7 out of 12 means 7/12 of an octave is pretty much a fifth.
Yeah, and that makes sense as a guitarist because the 7th fret is
The 7th fret is, yes, exactly. And that's actually the whole basis of music. All the various a hugely important fact of music theory is that go to this one here. Back out a little bit. Okay, so here's 3/5 of an octave, and here's 4/7 of an octave, and both of those are a good approximation of a fifth. And 7/12 is even better. So what are the most common scales? This is why pentatonic scales and heptatonic scales are hugely popular all over the world in every culture, and hexatonic scales, for example, or octatonic scales almost never are, because 3/5 and 4/7 are like the magic fractions in music. And this is why 12 Ito is so great. It's right there in the middle, not too many notes, and has a great fifth.
All right, I got a question. Where did these charts come from? Did you make them?
Yes, I made them, but the mathematical concept is called Stern-Broco, and that's STERN-BROCOT, and it's really interesting. It has a lot of cool mathematical applications. It was discovered by a watchmaker because it has to do with gear ratios, and it was independently discovered by another person. I think Stern was a watchmaker and Broco was a mathematician. I'm not sure. And it's so cool because 3/5 plus and 4/7 kind of average out to 7/12. And every ratio shows up in this. There's a lot of cool mathematical properties I don't want to get into. We're running out of time anyway. But just look it up if you like mathematical stuff. Let's see. Any other questions?
Well, I mean, we're getting close to time, but I did think of one. You mentioned how it's more of a chain of fifths than a circle of fifths, and maybe you could explain a little bit about that. You had it on the lattice layout where you have a G flat,
Yes.
right, and an A flat and a G sharp, and so explaining that.
Sure. So if you tune your fifth exactly, no matter how many of them you stack up, they never match. They never come to an even number of octaves. Fifths and octaves are sort of fundamentally no number of fifths will line up to be some number of octaves, and so you have to tweak the fifth a little bit, and then a certain number will line up, and you get a circle. But if in a sense, it's really a long chain, not a circle.
It's a circle in 12 Ito.
Because it's been tempered out.
41 Ito, it's a circle in any Ito. It's a circle. But
That's why equal temperament is the name.
Yes,
because
that's equal
the
temperament.
commas have been tempered out.
But if you be strictly exact, then it doesn't actually line up. Although by the time you get to 53, that's pretty close. You can see it almost right on the red line there.
And then, so it's more like a chain when you're looking at non-Itos, like, yeah.
Yes, just intonation or mean tone or any of those things. It's a chain.
So to emphasize the answer to that question again, why 41? The larger the Ito or the higher the resolution of those notes, the closer you can get generally, as a rule of thumb, the larger it is, the more small steps there are between each note. The closer you can get to those like really nice ratios, but the trade-off is you have that many more notes. So 41 is kind of a happy medium of, it's a number of notes that seems like a lot compared to 12, but as someone who wasn't interested, or wasn't particularly drawn to microtonal music or the music theory behind it before, I learned 41 on the kite guitar pretty easily, and honestly, it's a lot more, it sounds a lot more daunting than it is. So point being, it's very usable and practical to learn.
I would have to second that. 41 sounds like a big and scary number, but then when you realize it, like the concept of the harmonic series, like we're really just trying to like tap into that, and it's a great way to do it. Like we actually use a subset, just like, like we're not using all 41 at the same time, and that's like the same thing and as a diatonic scale in the 12 note system. So we'll still use like 5 or 7 notes to make up our scale, right? And but then you get like some nice blend from the just intonation, the good approximations.
Yeah,
And
so
kite guitar
miracle
helped me out. Yeah, I learned a lot from playing kite guitar, and I'd say it is definitely manageable to learn just intonation and harmonic series and all that stuff and make good music.
And I just want to say it's kind of a miracle that 41 works, and it's on the guitar, it's only 20 and a half notes per octave, which is pretty playable. It's more than 12, but not crazy more than 12, and you get this high accuracy. And it doesn't work as well for other Itos. Now, you can go higher and leave out 2/3 of the frets or 3/4 of the frets, and you can do 46 Ito or what was someone was talking about? 87 Ito. You leave out 2/3 of 87 Ito. You have a 29 Ito guitar.
Yeah, and I have right here.
41's the simplest one. Let's put it that way.
I have a demo here of leaving out. This is a 72 Ito guitar.
Yes,
and
we must credit Matthew Autry with pioneering the whole concept of skip frettings. So go on, Timmy. Show him the guitar that Matthew gave you.
Yeah. So this it basically is like it's missing 2 frets, sort of like it's a quarter tone system. So that means what he actually did was he took the original guitar and then just put in every other fret. So that's why this dot here, like these are the original frets, and then he put one in the middle, and then 24 times 3 is 72, and so then you get the the kind of like this skip fretting concept.
You get all 72 notes out of a 24 Ito guitar.
Exactly.
Anyway, we don't want to go too past your time here, Devin.
I'm gonna have to go real soon, and I know that probably Nathan and Heather will need to go as well. If you want to touch upon one final thing, I think, and we're headed in this direction, the reflection point is one of the reasons, it's one of the properties of 41. I don't know if there's an easily explainable math, chart.
Reflection point?
Yeah, the reflection point.
What do you mean?
I don't know if you've got some way of demonstrating that, but because I think that's the reason why 41 works as well, because I don't think, do any of the other numbers have that reflection point?
I'm not sure what you mean by reflection point. You mean the way it works out so nicely on the guitar fretboard?
Yeah, where you have odds on one string and then evens on the other.
Yes, you can do odds and evens on with any Ito. But with 41, it just works out that you get the notes that you particularly like, the particularly important ones. So, for example, you can do it with 31 Ito, but you lose your nice 5/4 major third. It gets moved far away, and instead you have 11/9 and 81/64 and things like. No, not that. Sorry, another one. You get 9/7. So you get some interesting ratios, but you lose some really important basic ones. And I guess that in order to show you how that would work, I could make fretboards for other Itos and show you how it doesn't work. Maybe I'll do that someday. But
well, I think I imagine there, like those charts that you have for, the different Itos. I don't know. But that is one of the reasons why 41 works. So I just thought it would be important to kind of touch upon that.
Yeah. What's going on is not, there's only so many small, easily identifiable ratios out there. There's about 20 or 25. And the kite guitar just happens to put them all under your fingers with 41 Ito, and the others don't. So it's kind of hard to say why. It just it just works.
Well, great. Thank you again for demonstrating and answering these questions and for your time.
Well, maybe Aaron just showed up just in time to say goodbye. So, Aaron, why don't you leave him on a high note?
Okay, a high note. What would you request?
Whatever you feel like.
Yeah, agreed.
I think a blues was partially requested earlier.
Yeah.
I love the blues on the kite guitar.
Okay. Tuning up. Should be good. Not absolutely flawless, but here we go for a quick rush. All right. Oh, a little bit of the lagginess here. Just a moment. Boom. Okay. Does everybody hear it? Yes?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay! Is that the I Got Vaxxed blues?
Yeah. Suppose I could sing something with it, but yeah. Okay, well, I suppose if we're all wrapping up, we're all wrapping up. And if people wanted to ask me any questions after it's all like officially wrapped up. I'm here. I don't know. I missed everything.
I just want to mention the ear trainer is available at tallkite.com/apps.
Great, thank you. Yeah, welcome to stay. I do need to go and have dinner. Thank you, Aaron, for the blues. Thank you, Kite, for showing.